So, this video is kind of spawned from after watching the first episode of Heroes of Cosplay. I watched a rerun of it just because I wanted to see what it was like, and I kind of missed the premiere, and that's not important. What is important is what I'm going to be talking about for this video, more or less. When I was watching Heroes of Cosplay, I watched it, and I was kind of disgusted. Because, and this is something Geeks the Week, if you haven't seen them, go check out Geeks the Week. Go check them out, especially like Anti-I-Chan and all her friends. And anywho, I'm getting off topic, but regardless, let's talk about this. When I was watching Heroes of Cosplay, it kind of painted cosplayers as these over-obsessive, very backstabbing kind of community. I mean, these people, like, it's almost like it's a beauty pageant. And to an extent, some people do treat cosplaying as a business, you know. Some people treat it like a beauty pageant and want to be looked at. But for the majority, but that's a small group. But for the most people, most people enjoy doing this. They love doing this for all their lives. They love being these characters. They love, it's not just the attention, it's just the fact that it's they can escape into this reality of being this character. It's not, a majority of people just do this for fun, not like, what I saw from, a majority of what I saw in this Heroes of Cosplay show, where it's just another, it's basically super-powered beauty pageant. It disgusted me. Now, the other thing that kind of brought this on is like this new sci-fi show called Fangasm, which is going to have a bunch of people all under one roof, and they're all going to be different fans of different shows and comic books and whatnot. And it kind of said like, "Ooh, how can they deal with one another? They all have different fandoms. Won't that be funny?" No, I have totally different fandoms from my friends, and we get along just fine. Okay, me, Duke, and Deanna love Doctor Who. There's a good example. Kirk, Coolio, and Dan, Tori GNR1, don't like Doctor Who. We don't talk. It's just like, hey, you guys don't like Doctor Who? Okay, bye. It's like okay, we're all good here. I mean, it's not like one little thing of fandom is going to drive us apart. It's kind of like, I should have brought this up, my distaste for how the media is portraying the geek culture these days in a mostly negative light. When, we had King of the Nerds. And that really portrayed us really bad as well. I mean, every time you see a lot of these shows and don't get me wrong, there are some shows out there that do portray the geek culture in a good light, but from what I've seen, like the big popular ones, it usually just shows us as we're supposed to be all antisocial, aggressive, and we love everything, and if you don't love what we love, fuck off. That's what it's trying to say. And to an extent, it's partially right. That there are people out there who are like that, and I don't associate myself with those people. Because, you know what? They're pricks. I'm gonna just go say it, they're pricks. And you get them in all culture, and not just, geek culture. There's people out there who are total pricks of, if you don't like what I like, don't be around me, or I'm gonna hate you. That's kind of every social group's thing. That's kind of what it is. But, however, I really feel bad that I think the media is basically showing the worst of us and trying to say, this is how nerd culture works. This is how, it is. Wouldn't you like to be a nerd? Or, haha, look at all these geek things with all their funny geeky shit. I hate it. I hate it. Like, that Collector. That, they had that show, that other show on Sci-Fi, where they had this woman come in. I think it was called Comic Book Collect, some shit like that. I can't even remember. Where this woman would come in, and it was kind of like Hoarders for Geeks. That's what it was. I'm gonna call it Hoarders, the Geeks edition, because it had this person come in and tell them, "Oh, you need to part with all your geeky things," and the people would get violent about it. And I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" There's nothing wrong with loving what you love. There's no shame in saying, I love this certain thing, or I love this certain character, or I love this certain franchise, and I want to have a big part of it. I want it to be a big part of my life. Now, when this person came in and usually be like, "Oh, you need to stop. You need to grow up and get rid of all your things, or pack them away or something because you're being a child." There again, I have to bring up that I'm gonna try my best to be fair here, even though again the media isn't. I don't think the social media isn't really being fair on these kind of subjects. Is that yeah, there are people out there who are very much buried in their stuff. I mean, every collector can tell. I can tell you that I have kind of a bit of a collection stigma with comics. However, I don't let that be, over controlling. I don't let that be the big part of my life. I don't let that, I don't have my room isn't filled with 30,000 different comics that I just litter all over my room. Not an animal here. And when it's time to go, I pack them up and sell some comics that I don't want anymore. Yeah, I'm willing to part with some of these comics because I know what's crap and what's not. But again, it has to. This is mostly me coming down the Sci-Fi Channel, and again with King of the Nerds, is that it's painting us all like this. And Heroes of Cosplay was kind of like the news about this new show Fangasm kind of drove me over the edge about talking about this kind of thing of stuff like this, of geeks being portrayed as something to be made. It's almost like we're being made fun of all over again back in high school. Only this time around, we're being made fun of by the media and the whole nation, and we're all kind of getting picked on here. It almost feels like that, doesn't it? And yeah, you could say oh, it's fun, stupid entertainment. Well, how do you feel? I mean, just the other day, I was talking with it was my cousin. It was one of my cousins at a family get together, and she told me, "Hey, do you watch Heroes? Are you gonna watch that Heroes of Cosplay show? I saw a trailer for it. It looks so fun. It looks so cool, but everyone is nasty and mean. I mean, if you guys are like that, I don't want to be like you guys." And I tried my best to explain to her that we all were not like that, and of course, she's so goddamn single-minded that I couldn't get it through her fucking head. Ugh. You see, this is kind of the thing that I'd really like a show, and there have been shows out in the past that have brought out the best in us, that has shown, there's been documentaries that have shown about it. And I'm talking about all geek culture, the MLP culture, I mean, yeah, the brony culture, we had a very good documentary on that, but we still get the social stigma, and there are people who kind of exacerbate that, and there are people, and don't get me wrong, again, I have to be fair on this, is that there are people out there in this culture, in the geek community, that do represent the worst of us. And I think they're looking at these people the most, because that's the loudest. Most of us are it's kind of like an old video I did back when, a while back, about a year back, when I talked about how most geeks are like Skrulls. You don't know that they're geeks until you find out. It has to be little subtle things to make you realize, oh, this person's a geek. That's so fun. Let's go do nerdy, geeky shit together, and it'll be fun. Here, it's just oh god, getting back on Heroes of Cosplay, it just felt like these people were oh my, okay, Yaya I can understand because that's her job, that's her livelihood. That one I can understand. But every other of the cosplayers, I was just oh my god, you people are so single-minded. And it was just I have to get this done or I'm going to be mad at you and yell at you and all this and be it's like saying that all cosplayers are we're these stuck-up people who are obsessed with being these characters so people can look at us. Again, and I really am repeating myself on this, but I have to drive the nail in, is that, again, there are people like that, but for the most part, hell, I've cosplayed, and I've never been hey, look at me, I'm this person. The only 2 times I've been able to cosplay was, I think it was movie version Deadpool, not Barakapool, Ryan Reynolds when he was Wade Wilson. And then it was the Christopher Eccleston Doctor. Those are the only 2 times I've cosplayed as, characters. Because everyone said, cosplay costs money. So might as well get something cheap out. But never once I was just hey, look at me, I'm this person. One, no one cares because everyone else is in costume, and we're there to. And secondly, we're all freaking there to have fun. So, yeah, basically, I'm just. It frustrates me. It really does frustrate me. And yeah, you could blame the media for doing stuff like this, and you can all. I'm just gonna not watch any more of these geek-related shows unless it's an superhero animated show. That's the only thing that'll get me interested. And I mean, even the only people that are fair about these kind of things is the Nerdist. That's a show that's pretty fair, and it took me a while to get around to Chris Hardwick because I don't know why, But for some reason, Chris Hardwick put me off for some reason. But then I started listening to his podcast and all that. Even Comic Book Men puts us in a bad light in some aspects. Then again, I'm not the biggest Kevin Smith fan. Don't get mad at me. I just don't like. His movies are good. Don't get me wrong. It's just that I'm just not a fan of Kevin Smith's writing outside of a few given things like his Daredevil and Green Arrow. His other minor stuff with Batman, man, not so much. But I'm not here to talk about Kevin Smith. Well, anyway, before I go on to a full-on ramble mode, I'm going to leave you guys off with this. You guys tell me what you think of, is the media portraying us geeks in a bad light? And, what do you guys think of all this? Especially, most of this is mostly coming down on this kind of anger is kind of coming down from what Sci-Fi's been putting out. So, yeah, it's mostly directed towards that. But there are some other shows, like I said, with King of the Nerds and a few others. But anyway, guys, you guys tell me what you think of all this, and I'll see you guys later.